I am interested in hearing from you. What are some practical and realistic ways to automate redundant teacher tasks with existing technology? Feel free to draw on examples, both things that you have tried already, and then also things that you're thinking about experimenting with or want to try in the future.
Well, I'd be willing to go first. I think exactly what you were saying is exactly what we've been experiencing, and we're trying to figure out how to address that. And I think over the last year, I've been looking for ways to make things simpler for teachers. And we always say that we bring up technology, and we say technology is going to be the thing that's going to make it simpler for you. And then what ends up happening is it creates this complexity in the classroom that the teachers aren't comfortable with. And then I ran into, well, I've actually known him for a while, a gentleman by the name of John Crippo. Went to one of his sessions around edge protocols, and all of a sudden it dawned on me like there's a way to shift this so that we can actually start to automate a lot of the things that are repetitive, like you were saying. So I ended up jumping into a few classrooms, one of those being a first grade class, and a lot of classrooms are having to do repetitive tasks to get the kids to remember things. Like repetition is something that you need to do to get the kids to have it sink in and stay with them, specifically around math facts. So he started introducing all the different tools that are out there, like quizzes, Kahoot, Gimkit, all those different tools. Like people could use these to actually put them in front of the students, and then lo and behold, it grades it for you instantaneously. It gives the kids feedback instantaneously, so all these students and all this work and time that you spend going to the copier, going home and grading it all, bringing it back and hand it to the kids is now taken away and actually handed to the kids. You've empowered the child. And we've seen growth start to happen because these kids can actually start to take these tasks on their own. And we're seeing kids do, 1,000 problems in a classroom. When was the last time you handed out a worksheet and saw, all the kids want to do 1,000 problems in a classroom in a day? So we started to see those things being kind of practical, and all of a sudden teachers started to feel like they could get their weekends back. They could go, I don't have to take all these papers home and grade them. I can actually use this machine do it. And the kids already know, the parents already know. I've already communicated all that information to those stakeholders, the people that need that information.
Great, great. Those automated assessment tools, very, very handy. And practice. I hear a lot about practice.
And it's usually
I'll
low
jump.
stakes as well. Sorry.
That's okay. I'll jump in. Kind of continuing that conversation. I think in the teacher classroom, Randy, a lot of the hesitation, especially pre-COVID, was the fear of maybe the student in the classroom knowing a little bit more about the technology usage than actually some of our teachers do. So that was kind of a factor I think teachers had to deal with. But going into COVID, I think a lot of folks had to dip their toe in the water that probably never really wanted to before, and got some actual experience with how it could improve their classroom as a teacher. And Courtney, you're exactly right. It's minimal tasks. Time is always the problem for everybody. So as teachers continue to leave the field, the ways that we can show them how to save time is valuable for them. And one thing that really started us down that road was Google for Education. We're a Google district, and you've seen them kind of the direction of Google to give educators everything they need, to work right inside their Gmail front. So having all those tools in one place that will get you to the Google Docs, or can create a space for teachers to work with their team, to chat back and forth, just to make it easier for them to create more opportunities to save time in order to give them time back in the classroom that they can work with students and create relationships with them. And, it's not a plug, but Schoolytics is something we're piloting right now. And great options for teachers on a lot of the things that we have mentioned already. Attendance, parent-student communication is huge. That's something that takes a lot of time for teachers in the classroom, but is very, very important, because you don't want to get to a point where you have a parent that's uninformed, and that leads to a problem because they didn't know how their son or daughter was doing until a time where it was almost too late. And so the communication, if we can save teachers time communicating with parents, and not only parents, but fellow teachers within the same school. Sometimes teachers are so busy they don't have time during the day to collaborate with fellow teachers unless time is created by the school or the staff or planning periods or something like that. And so I think it's important to keep practical, not to be threatening with too much too quickly, because teachers are going to have time to process all of this, learn how to use it logically to save time in their classroom with their students before it's going to be very effective for them.
I think one of the things that we've seen at Turnitin, and I think my point of view here is amongst these really great educators is really from a technologist point of view. We have seen a lot of success and a lot of customers that are very happy with a product called Gradescope. And what Gradescope does is it actually takes advantage of an effect that Courtney mentioned. It uses computer vision to group handwritten assignments or handwritten answers to a question together. So if you imagine a math question or a chemistry question, you might have 40 students, but really you're only going to have 5 or 6 different answers. And what we found is teachers were grading 40 questions and they were writing, -2 for missing the exponent 8 times in a row. And it's not hard, but it's repetitive. And it takes up a lot of time and it takes up a lot of energy. And handwriting, again, you have to read the handwriting, which is cognitively kind of hard. So what we did was we came in and we said, how do we think a little bit outside the box? And so we used computer vision to be able to read the handwriting of the student as the assignments are submitted. They're just smartphone photographs, right? Smartphone scans of the assignment, and we group the answers together. So then a teacher can come in and we say, hey, these 8 submissions, these 8 answers, they're all the same thing. You can, in one glance, take a look and you assign the same grade to all of them. So that's plugging what we do a little bit, partially because it's the world I know. But I think there's a lot of opportunities to start using lower level AI and recognizing that it's not the big Orwellian, Terminator, Skynet kind of world, and recognizing that it actually performs a lot of these. AI has gotten really good at performing a lot of these lower level tasks, and we're starting to see a lot more of these apps come forward to start to truly automate, right? Not just in terms of process automation, but really start to take away some of that lower level cognitive thought that takes up energy, takes up time, and that's been a really powerful shift for teachers in terms of products that we've seen.
Yeah, I guess to piggyback on that, the teacher that I was working with, and we've got a few others that are going through this as well. They found like those low level things that they're doing with the kids, the low cognitive. Now they have the opportunities to start expand what they can ask the kids to do. So they're starting to do word problems with first graders, where the kids are actually solving it, designing it, solving it, and then explaining it. And those kinds of things, teachers have a very difficult time getting to because they're spending so much time on those low level skills. So if we can start to leverage the machines to kind of maybe do these repetitive tasks for us, pull them together. And if you can grade all my writing papers, I'm in.
Well, I mean, we'll get to that in a little bit. Obviously, if you follow the news and you've been reading about GPT-3 and OpenAI and ChatGPT, a lot of the fear has been around these technologies eroding academic integrity, doing work for students. And I think we're not speaking enough about the impact that these technologies potentially could have in actually improving feedback, improving our ability to give feedback more consistently, more impactfully, and at much greater scales than we ever could imagine before these technologies existed.
Along with that, that kind of makes me think about personalization within the classroom. So if the teachers know a little bit more data on the students and can group them a little bit better than we have in the past, that would give them the awareness of, who needs that teacher time in the classroom the most, and for the students maybe who don't need as much teacher time and could be more self-directed, you can give them assignments using the technology that we talked about that they can use to learn from, work with other kids, create must-do, may-do playlists that kind of engages students a little bit more. So this all flows, I'm happy to hear this conversation because it all flows together, especially what you were talking about with the teachers that you're working with in the classroom, Randy. It presents an option, to use that data driven classroom expectation, and target that instruction individually to students based on what their needs are. And then when you can do that and use that to create some student reflection and opportunity for ownership within the classroom, all of a sudden you see the students just light up. And one interesting thing that we've been doing this for about 6 years now in our district, and every year we ask the question, we call it personalized learning. And every year we ask the question, what's your favorite thing about personalized learning? And it's a very short survey, and the students, every year that we push that out for the last 6 years, the number one area of feedback is what they like the most is the more time they get to spend with their teacher. And it's not use of Chromebooks, it's not technology, it's not anything that you might think it would be in the beginning, but it's about, hey, I get more time with my teacher, and I like that.
100%.
Big
I
part of
think this time saving piece is just so important. Can't stress enough. I think what's also interesting to consider about time saving is there's this idea of like you have this much time and then you'll get extra hours, but I think there's sort of this opposite effect too, where you do things with an automation tool that you just wouldn't do otherwise. So if you think about this, teacher to student communication, for example, if I'm a teacher and I'm teaching middle school and I have 100 students, because I teach, say, 4 periods, and I want to send each of them a fairly personalized note on how they're doing on their schoolwork or just in the classroom. Like, even if I spent 2 minutes on every email, that's 200 minutes. And so it's just something that you say, oh, I can't do that because it takes too long. And you would never consider it. Whereas I think if you can have a tool that helps you to do that, then at the click of a button, say, then you'll say, well, yeah, sure, I'll send those notes out. Like, that's no problem. And so there's an additive component as well as a deductive one, if those adjectives make sense, in terms of saving time and giving you opportunities to do that. At Schoolytics, we think a lot about those teacher-student communications, and we've seen, kind of building off what you were saying, Sam, that we help teachers send kids positive messages that just say, hey, in the last week, you've accomplished 80% assignment completion on your work. Good job. I'm really proud of you. Keep it up. And teachers rave about this option because it really is that like personal touch. I guess fundamentally it's written by a robot, but teachers just say students write back. They say thank you, that it's opened up avenues of conversation and building student-teacher relationships, which I personally had way underestimated when we thought about designing that feature. So I think the connection, like a human connection, can actually be enhanced by a machine, which is like a really weird concept, but
Exactly.
But I've seen it play out for our teachers.
Vice versa. And I think it's back to feedback. As soon as the students knows, often in education, they're told like they've missed the mark. You missed the mark, you missed the mark, you missed the mark. And then eventually you get the A, and then congratulations, you got an A. But if you go in between, like, you're at 80%, that's fantastic. It's better than 70%. Then the kids are like, oh my gosh. And we've done that. I think we've even done that with like those basic scores. When we first kick it off, we say, okay, you guys got 50% on this basic mathematics, quiz that we've given you online. Let's see if we can't get 55%. 50% is not great, but 55% is better than 50. And then you just keep going, and the kids are like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And they're not bought into or see this, like, it's not everything's trying to destroy their opportunity. They're actually seeing, oh, I'm growing, I'm actually building, I'm actually moving someplace. And it opens up those doors where they can see a progression. And the machine is the one telling them that. The teacher's not telling them it. The machine is saying, you did better, you did better, you did better, to move on. Video games. Oh my gosh, that's exactly what a video game does constantly.
Gamification is powerful.
Yeah.